Hello, book lovers! I'm Kiki, and welcome back to my little corner on the internet. So, I had not planned on doing another Read It or Unhaul It this quickly. However, I I am sort of in the mood to see if I want to DNF any more books on my physical TBR. So, I thought, why not go for it? It's like, why not? I mean, honestly, if I DNF all of the books I start again this time around, it's not like it'll take me that much time. But anyway, that is what we are doing in this video. Okay, so because I've had so many German books given to me for my December TBR by the TBR wheel, it's not surprising that the three books that I think I'm probably potentially going to DNF are three of the German ones. But anyway, that is partially the TBR for this video. And then I thought I would also, check the jar for something to read because I have it. I should use it. Anyway, I am not going to say that because then I will 100% pull it. But let's see what this book is. I don't know if that focuses, but anyway. What? It's literally one of the ones that is on my December TBR. Okay, that just means I need to read this now. Okay, lovely. Don't get me wrong, I am reading other books at the moment as well. I never manage to just have one book on my currently reading list. It does not work for me. Last night I did start to try to read Lycidas, but I only made it like 3 pages in. No, actually a little further than 3 pages, but like 10 pages or something in. Because the book didn't start on page 1. I don't know why German books do that so much. I am actually gonna move around. I don't like that angle. I wanna sit comfortably. There we go. Okay, so, like I said, I started reading this, but I quite literally fell asleep. I just couldn't do it. I was so tired when I started this, but I wanted to read for a little bit longer, so... Okay, I don't think I can read this book. I had such high hopes for this because... So, basically, it says it on the back. Oh my god. Okay, so basically, it says, "Welcome in the city of angels and demons, the city of elves and, like, talking rats, the city of gods and ghosts. Welcome to London, the ancient metropolis." Ooh, I just remembered the word in English. I love it. I'm 44 pages in, and the talking rat that we have met is a lord of some sort. Our main character seems to be half elf. So half fae. I'm not sure. And she used to live in an orphanage, but she just escaped from there because she witnessed a werewolf stealing a little girl. The names are ridiculous. The adult man that sort of helped our protagonist, who is a little girl, is using the formal way of speaking to her despite her being a child, which is irritating me so much. The writing is annoying me. And I'm quite literally every 3, 4, 5 pages, I am looking at how many pages are still left in the chapter. And it's chapter 2, and this is how much I've read. This is what is still left. If I am going to continue reading this, the whole time I'm reading, I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, when is this over? I am not vibing with this. I think I'm gonna DNF it. Because if I'm already feeling this annoyed with literally every single aspect that there is to this book, I'm not invested in the characters. I am not invested in the story, despite it seeming interesting. There seems to be a riddle, or like, not a riddle, but like a mystery that needs solving, and I am not interested in the slightest. It feels a little bit like the author tried to take every single mythological creature and popped it into London. I'm DNFing it. I'm just annoyed. I can't. I'm not mad about the fact that I'm not enjoying this because this would take me so long to read, but I'm mad about not liking this because I bought this because it sounded cool. It's a no. It's a DNF. We'll see what happens next. Now I need to choose my next book. God damn it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I am going to pull a book from here, and depending on what it is, I might either read it or I might choose one of the books that is on my TBR for this month, because there are a few books that I am saving for next year because I am positive that I want to read them, but it will take me longer, and I don't necessarily want to take a book into the new year as currently reading, if that makes sense. So we're gonna, depending on what it like I do with these, we might pull another one, or why is this 2? Or I am just gonna choose one myself. So I don't know if you can read this, but let's see what it is. That is not on my TBR, but should I do that? Let me check something. Okay, the book will be this, Die Klinge des Schicksals by Markus Heitz. You know what, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it and see what I think. Okay, so I have not started this yet. It is a couple days, weeks later. I honestly don't know at this point. But I have not had the chance to really start this yet because I honestly haven't really read in days. I did read a comic yesterday and the day before because I felt the need to read, but I could not focus on anything really. So I didn't want to start this because it would have been bad. Like, I would not be giving this book an actual chance. I was thinking I wanted to put this book into this video anyway because it is in translation, and I've just been realizing that a lot of the books that I've been reading from translated from English into German are sort of difficult for me to get through in German. And I have access to the English audiobook on Everand. And so I was thinking, you know what? Given that I want to try this out anyway, and I just cannot be bothered to actually read it in German, I might as well listen to the audiobook in English. It's like somewhere around 9 hours long, I think. So it should take me somewhere around 3 hours to read, depending on the natural speed of the narrator and what speed I can put it at. So this is also on my December TBR. So I do really want to give it a shot this month. And I technically accidentally put this on my December TBR because it was supposed to be a different book, but I didn't know the titles that I had on my shelves, and 2 of them are very similar. Anyway, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be listening to the audiobook of this, and then I am going to just clean my room at least a little bit. So I just listened to the first 2 chapters of, it's called Tell the Wind and Fire in English. I am quite uncertain about what to think about this book yet. I'm so confused as to like what happened to our main character, but we also haven't gotten any information. We just know where she is right now. We will see. I'm going to try to make it to like chapter 7 and then see what I think. That's like a third through the book-ish. So far, I am intrigued. I'm just so confused. I don't know what's happening. Haven't quite figured out the like magic system and everything yet, because we've only gotten bits and pieces of it. But that's fine. I'm gonna continue to do stuff and listen to it, probably. Okay, so I have made it like halfway through chapter 6, and I can't deal with it. I do not care about what happens to these characters. I also just found out that it's apparently supposed to be a Tale of Two Cities retelling. And given that I DNF'd that one, I probably should have done my research. I don't care. Our main character made a stupid decision, which, for the plot. And I'm just like, she knew that it was stupid, but she did it anyway. And I'm like, why is that constantly a thing? People know it's a dumb decision, and yet they make them anyway. I just can't deal with it. Yeah, I can't. I'm not interested. I'm not invested. I have learned a bit more about the magic system, so I do understand it a bit better. It actually was explained, and the backstory was explained a chapter after I updated it. And I was like, well, maybe I should have just paused for a second before complaining about not understanding what's happening. But I don't care. I am going to pick up Die Klinge des Schicksals by Markus Heitz and see what I think. Let's see what I think about this one. It is a little bit of a chunky one, especially because the writing is relatively small. I don't know if you could see that, but that might make it a bit more difficult for me to get through it. and first chapter and am now on page 44. And I'm not hating it, which is a great sign. I'm actually so intrigued. But because this book is almost 600 pages long, I'm like only this far in. But that's okay. Just having started this is great. Makes me super happy. And I'm gonna continue reading this for, I don't know how long. Probably not too long. I'm tired. But I might actually finish this book. I mean, I don't want to say anything too early because it can still change, but I thought I would be a good little YouTuber and actually update, because last night I made it all the way to page 94 in this one, and it is looking better so far than it was with the last few books that I tried. Sorry, this is annoying me. There we go. I am more intrigued and more interested in the characters and their storyline, which the last few books were not it in that regard. So that is great. I am starting to feel my attention drift, though, as I'm reading it. So we will see how that continues. The only book that is on my currently reading list right now is this one. Now, my problem is that I have had no inclination of wanting to pick this back up. I am taking this as a bad sign. What I am going to do, though, is I am going to continue reading this right now. My mom and I want to go for a little walk in about an hour and a half-ish, hour 45. And I have time until then. It might not take me that long to make a decision on this book. I hope it will not take me that long to make a decision on this book, because by that time I will be so far into this book that I will probably want to finish it. Oh my god, I am so bored. I have made it. So I read the next chapter and a little bit. I'm on page 122. Literally, like in the middle of a chapter. I can't do this. I don't care. Also, some of the descriptions are just, I don't want to know that. I don't care. Like, there are certain things that I feel like could have just been cut, made the book like 200 pages shorter and so much easier to read. But that's me. So anyway, this is gonna be a DNF, and it's gonna go on my Unhaul shelf because I just can't. At first, like the first chapter, the prologue, included more magic, and I was intrigued by that. But so far, the remaining 100 pages, there hasn't really been much magic, and especially when it's a fantasy that is set in a world where magic exists, I want to understand that magic. I want to understand the differences between potentially different magics, and I want to like just know more about it, you know? But I'm so far like 100 pages later and I don't even care about that anymore. I don't care about understanding it anymore because I don't know when it will be explained. Like we've also just gotten a betrayal that I don't care about. I'm literally like, yeah, okay. It yeah, I don't know. It should have come maybe as a shock, and it should have made me mad, but instead it just annoyed me. And yeah, so I don't think this book is for me. I really wanted to figure out what I would do next for the Read It or Unhaul It. It's literally an hour later or something. But I thought I would pull the next one so I can figure out what it will be and whether I will do that this year or if I will push that into next year. So let's take a look. Again, there are a couple that are not in the jar yet, and I'm just not going to put them in the jar, honestly, because depending on what I pull, I might just switch that out for the one that I want, like that I haven't put, that I might want to read. But let's see what this is. I can't read it. A Love Like Blood. Okay. That is actually okay, because it's an English one, which will be interesting to do. It is most definitely not the one I would have chosen for myself, but it's A Love Like Blood by Marcus Sedgwick. And I bought this at a secondhand store, or like a thrift store in Antwerp, I think, when I went on a trip there with some friends. And what I started doing is I try to get a book from every city that I go to, so to have like a sort of collection from when I travel, because I have been like, I want souvenirs from the places that I go to, but I'm not big on collecting souvenirs. I'm not a big magnet fan, or postcards tend to be lost somewhere in the void and everything, so it's like difficult. So I decided to go with books, and we didn't really have time to go to a bookstore, so that was the only one that we sort of came across, and they didn't really have a book that I wanted. And so this sounded sort of cool, and so I decided to just get this one. It was like €4. I am about to go to bed, but I need a book where I can just read a couple of pages so I can be completely ready for bed, if you know. And I thought I would give A Love Like Blood a try. It is, in fact, the next evening. And I did start A Love Like Blood by Marcus Sedgwick last night, and I made it 30 pages in. So I can sort of give my first impressions of this book. And I am unsure about this book. Not necessarily because I don't like the plot or the characters or anything. I don't know much about any of it yet. But it is because as I was putting the book and the pages I've read onto the story graph, I saw that it is horror. That is the one genre that I do not read. Or I always say it's the one genre I don't read. I don't read a lot of sci-fi either. But horror is just something I don't like to watch. I don't necessarily like to read, etc. It's just something about it. And I, like, as I read it, it became clear, because the whole time I was reading the first 30 pages, I had this really unsettling feeling. And I didn't know what it was. And then I realized it's because it's a horror book, apparently. So I am definitely going to continue, because it's not necessarily a big book. The writing is also huge. Something I will give this book, which I absolutely love, is the fact that these chapters are so short. I'm liking the short chapters. I'm not sure about the plot yet. I'm still kind of confused on it, and not sure what I'm going to think about our characters yet either. If I get through part 1, I will have made it almost a third through the book. And by that point, I should probably know whether I will like it or not. So I'm excited, which is great because I'm actually intrigued. Not sure if I'm going to like it yet though. To read until page 90 something last night. I could not do it. I gave up after 30 pages yesterday or like 33 pages or something. So I'm only 64 pages into the book. And the more I read in this, the more I'm thinking of DNFing it. So I am just not feeling it, it's probably currently sitting at like a 2-star. It's not giving me anything of what I want. I didn't know what I wanted from this book, but it was not this. I am going to see if I read the last like 30-ish pages that is still in part 1, so that I can at least say I finished part 1. And that would give me to about, 30%? And then I will most likely DNF it, to be honest. Unless something drastically changes within those 30 pages, but I highly doubt it, so. I had such high hopes after the first few pages, and now I'm just meh. I just finished part 1. I'm officially on part 2. And I don't know. So part 1 pretty much ended how I thought it would, which is technically not the best sign because it means that this book is predictable, and I'm not sure I want it to be. I don't know. I'm gonna check how long part 2 is. Like if I decided to read that, how far it would get me, because it's again a long one, which I don't understand. Yeah, okay, so that's a little over 60 pages, so that would get me to, I would say, 50 something, a little over halfway through. And then it's like 3 more parts in that last like 48% or something, and I don't know if I should continue it. Usually, so I've come to the realization that now that I've started DNFing books, the moment I question myself and the question of should I DNF this book pops into my mind, the likelihood that I will not finish this is extremely high, just because if I'm wondering whether I should DNF a book or not, generally should mean that I should probably DNF it, because I wouldn't be asking myself if I should DNF a book if I think I would love it. Okay, I have been thinking on what to do with this book, which has actually been not thinking about this book mostly. So I have decided to soft DNF this for now, because I think that if I go in with the right expectation and the right intention behind wanting to read this book, I might actually end up enjoying it a little. I would not enjoy it right now. Hello. Yes, I've changed my hair 3 times today. We do not talk about it. It's a thing I do. Anyway, with having soft DNF'd A Love Like Blood, I need to choose my next DNF, which I'm really excited about. There are 2 or 3 books that even if I pull them, I'm not gonna read this year. They're in the works for next year, and I do want to try to get 1 more book down this year, so. You know what? I'm gonna choose the book. Because I really didn't want to read the one that... We are actually going to choose 2 books. Because the first one I'm very likely to DNF, because I DNF'd the first one, and it's The Village of 8 Graves by Seishi Yokomitsu. I couldn't read it because it's a weird font. And I picked this up on sale at Waterstones, and I read the first one on Kindle, and I wasn't vibing with the writing style at all. And I wanted to read them sort of in order, but then I couldn't figure out the right order, so I was like, I'm DNFing that one. And I'm gonna see if I like this one. I'm just gonna try it, and if not, I'm gonna DNF it. It's also technically not too long. It's like 350-ish pages, so even if I wanted to read it, I might be able to do it. And then if I do DNF this really early on, then I am going to move on to The Lace Reader by Bernonia Barry. And I got this at, pretty sure this was a secondhand bookstore in London. And every time I open this, I am surprised because I forget that this is signed. So, yeah, but this is option number 2. I am going to do what I absolutely hate doing, and that is to take a book into the new year as a currently reading book. I haven't really continued that much so far yet, but I honestly think that I will like this book. I started this book because I was so certain that I would DNF it, otherwise I wouldn't have even started it this year. But I am going to finish chapter 1 before going to bed, which is another like 10-ish pages, so then I will be on page 48, 49. And I'm okay with that. That is like 12% of the book I've read this year, and then I will just read it in January. And I usually hate doing it, but I will not finish this book tomorrow. I will not. I have a 24-hour readathon planned. I'm not reading a book that I'm reading for a different video in my 24-hour readathon video. It also would take me a long time to finish. Anyway, I'm going to do that because I am actually enjoying myself. I thought I would DNF it because, like I said, I DNF'd the first one and I didn't like it. This is written differently. It might also have been translated differently. I don't know, and that might be why I like it more now. But this is written in a diary sort of way. So we have basically our main character's diary of the time, with a little prologue of things that happened before. And I'm enjoying myself so far. It might be that I will I will continue it, and after chapter 4 or something, I DNF it. Fine. If that happens, that happens. But I have a good feeling about this. I have a better feeling about this than A Love Like Blood. That one I was just like weirded out by almost. But this one I think I'm actually enjoying, which says a lot because I don't have the audiobook for it. And it's been difficult for me to enjoy books that I don't have the audiobook for. So we'll see what happens. It's not going to be a 5-star. It might not even be a 4-star. But I think it might be somewhere in 3-star territory. And I am happy with that. So this will be continued next year. Which means that I'm also not going to be reading this year. So I'm so surprised by that, honestly. Listen, it has been almost 2 months since I decided to pause this book because I realized that I didn't have the time to properly give it a chance with the things I had planned, with the 24-hour readathon, as well as my 31 books in 31 days challenge in January. It just was not happening that I would manage to finish this book if I liked it, or do whatever with it. And I liked it, right? Like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna pause this because I do want to continue it. I'm like enjoying it. I would say 4 days ago, actually, I decided to pick this back up. And I am now DNFing it. Okay, listen. I read about, I would say, 10 pages every day. So, in this book, well, also, honestly, I'm in a reading slump, so I just haven't really been reading anyway. So, I've read like 40 more pages in this, and I can't do it. I just think that this writing style isn't for me. Or maybe it's the author, I don't quite know, but it's just, nothing was really happening in those 40, 50 pages that I read. And that was annoying me because I still very much remembered what was happening. But then I was like, I don't care. It's not that interesting. I also didn't really think about this book in the time that I had paused it. So that's not necessarily a good sign. So it's a DNF, and that makes me so sad. Because I had such high hopes for this, but because I DNF'd the first one, I'm DNFing this. I'm just gonna DNF the whole series. I'm not gonna try to even read any of the other ones because I just think it's not for me. And yeah, I really need to stop buying random books. But anyway, I feel like this video needs to end. Otherwise, it'll take another 2 months for me to actually finish another book. Once again, I DNF'd all of the books that I started, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. I don't know. This is going to be a hard DNF, I don't even care. So it's going on my Unhaul shelf. This being The Village of 8 Graves, by the way. And then A Love Like Blood, I'm soft DNFing because I feel like I could give this another chance just in like 2 years. So this is definitely staying on my soft DNF shelf. And then Die Klinge des Schicksals. I think I'm gonna hard DNF it, and I think I might give this to a friend of mine because she might enjoy this a bit more than I would. Then Golden Darkness, which is called something else in English. I'm hard DNFing this. It's also funny because my friend often sees books on my shelves and then she's like, oh, that's cool, I'm gonna buy this myself as well. And I'm like, just wait until I've tried it because the likelihood that I will not love it and give it to you is really high. So she wouldn't have had to buy this, nor this, because I could have just given them to her, but I also DNF Lycidas, and I'm so glad that I did not read this, because the reason I know that DNFing these was the right choice is that I have not thought about these books since DNFing them. Yeah, that's that. I am going to have to figure out what the heck to do now, because if this continues, I'm just going to continue DNFing, and I really want to find a book within these books that I like or even love, and it's like a surprise, but you know, they're not currently, so that's sad. So I hope this wasn't too disappointing. But I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe subscribing. I would love to have you here. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!